I'd be like solving murders that I'm committing myself. He's holding the knife with the bloody thing. You get the girl who's basically like the ghost of the person that he killed.
Feel like David has always alluded to Celeste's fate whenever I hear those phrases now. And now, David is finally standing up and making an unexpected speech as crowds gather for her burial. From disturbing posts on the internet to scary moments on video, what we are learning today will change how we view this disaster for all time. As the truth came to light, the investigation turned up a lot of bizarre stuff. As investigators started to dig further, when they looked into the real story of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a 15-year-old whose body was found disfigured in David's whip, they found some extremely disturbing evidence that shocked the industry. This was no typical tragedy, family. As they dug deeper, it became clearer that this young cat, David Anthony Burke, had been living a second life darker than any of his gloomy kid records could ever portray. The most horrifying part of the whole situation was that David's music seemed to be conveying the story before it even happened. Even though bro was truly penning his future horrors in his bars, everyone just thought it was an artistic expression. That being said, nobody was watching the game until it was much too late, and this guy was really filming his actions in real time.
Now on to some truly creepy developments in the mysterious case of Celeste Rivas, the teenager whose dismembered body was found in the trunk of singer David's Tesla. Back in February, David released a music video for his song One More Dance. In it, he's seen covered in blood, dragging a body across the ground. He then dumps that body in, you guessed it, the trunk of a car. In light of the circumstances, the parallel is a disturbing coincidence, raising some eyebrows.
7 months after David was filmed dragging a bleeding body and tossing it in a car trunk in the music video for the February 2025 single One More Dance, Celeste's bones were discovered in the front trunk of his Tesla. My friend was playing both the murderer and the victim in his own movie. That seems like some sinister, twisted foreshadowing to me. But wait, it's about to get crazy. During his 2025 Withered World Tour, this man was actually bringing real caskets to the stage and requesting spectators to leave notes for the departed. In reality, bro was holding fake funerals, even though Celeste was probably already deceased. The time is perfect for a reason. That is really cold-blooded, purposeful.
Also finding this disturbing that he tours with a casket. He brings a casket with him on tour, which artists do some creepy, weird shit like this all the time. Like, I'm Suicide Boys fans, they do weird shit, but oh man, with the context of all this is very, very, very bad.
In 2022, this cat was captured talking about a character he created called Itami. He would have to solve crimes committed by some evil alter ego in his capacity as a detective. In fact, bro stated that he would be looking into murders that I had myself committed. Hearing that sounds completely different in light of what we now know. Creative storytelling is not what that was. Artful rubbish.
Idea to kind of make this first music video introduce a character that I had been kind of ideating for a really long time. That's why you see him with the blindfold and the bloody shirt aesthetic and the bow tie. I'm really big into anime and I'm really big into manga, and I wanted to make my own manga series at one point, and I was writing a lot of poems and writing a lot of things for it, and a big part of that manga was an evil version of me named Itami, which means pain in Japanese, and he wears this blindfold and he's basically an agent of chaos and kind of my alter ego. And the story of the manga went like I was a detective and there was an evil version of myself that would kind of come out at random moments, and he would commit the crimes that I would have to solve as a detective. I'd be like solving murders that I'm committing myself.
The streets started to hum when digital forensics uncovered some damaging proof about what was truly taking place behind the scenes. Screenshots show that David posted about expecting a child using what investigators think is Celeste's account. These days, pregnancy is being proposed as a potential cause. He had to keep the fact that the girl was carrying his seed.
In this alleged screenshot, David even claims that he and the deleted user have a kid on the way back in July of 2024, which people obviously speculate could be the very reason that she ended up losing her life.
When the neighborhood discovered the scope of this operation, they became quite agitated. Josh Marshall, his manager, had rented the crib in the Hollywood Hills where Celeste was found during one of her escapes to Interscope Records. When the federal officials seized the property, Marshall broke the $20,000 monthly lease and fled. That in itself is highly dubious behavior. Unless they have a big secret, no one breaks a pricey lease.
According to this post, we have just confirmed the house is being rented by Josh Marshall, David's manager at Interscope. David appeared on a lot of Twitch live streams, and this clip has been going around because the girl in it is wearing the same Gap hoodie as Celeste here.
The internet went haywire when this story leaked. Social media was utilized as a battlefield by amateur detectives from the hood to the suburbs to search for receipts, analyze evidence, and conduct their own investigations. The hashtag Noir and the Justice Force was trending everywhere, with over 2 million references. Furthermore, many were demanding blood rather than justice.
So singer David is in some hot water. Previously, it was reported a dismembered body was found in the trunk of his car while he was on tour. Today, the dead body was identified as a 15-year-old who's been missing since she was 13.
7. The reaction of David's fanbase revealed the real rift in society. Using those fake identification documents, some fans accused Celeste of being the victim of her own acts, while others immediately cut off their ties and called for boycotts. This kind of mindset prevents young girls from the war from receiving the protection to which they are entitled. They wanted to find ways to shift the blame away from the older man and onto a child who was clearly being affected. David said nothing at all while the probe was underway. His most recent social media post was made on September 5th, 2025, 3 days before the body of Celeste was discovered. He was probably urged to remain silent by his legal team, but doing so just increased suspicions. The streets don't respect silence when you are the main suspect in a child's death. Legal experts found that it was all due to technicalities when they started to explain why no one had been arrested yet. Prosecutors found it challenging to pinpoint Celeste's exact cause of death because the cause of death was still unknown due to the decomposition of her remains. But the hour was known to all on the streets. It is not a coincidence that you end up dismembered in someone's trunk.
Taking their time, Ashley, which is exactly what they should be doing. And there's a lot to untangle here, and it's important to remember he's presumed innocent, right? And we know, based on past history, there are juries in LA that will entertain absolutely insane defense theories.
The music industry responded with lightning speed. Interscope shut down all promotions. More swiftly than you could say lawsuit, collaborations were called off, and big businesses abandoned him like he was hot. But the speed of these responses suggested that industry insiders knew something much before the rest of the public did. What really moved many was learning that David continued to play video games online after the discovery, as if nothing had happened. He apparently continued to play Fortnite even after Celeste's body was found, exhibiting a level of detachment that had everyone questioning his mental state.
Just yesterday, he was tracked on Fortnite playing several matches of the casual reload game mode on his account. So I don't know, it's like the guy's whole life could be at stake and he's out here just running Fortnite, like living freely. I mean, something about that just sits so wrong with me.
The evidence paints a picture of someone who was engaged in more than just criminal activity. By documenting the suffering of a child's family through his art and securing industry cosigns for his illness, he was maintaining his innocence. This case showed how the entertainment industry may protect predators when money is involved, and how certain backgrounds do not provide the same level of protection for young females. The shocking revelations were only the I'm beginning to see just how deep I've fallen down this rabbit hole. Electronic version of the paper trail. How this predator got captured after slipping. When the FBI started investigating David's digital trace, they found a systematic operation that had been going on for years, targeting a vulnerable girl when she was still a toddler. The evidence they recovered showed that predators started grooming intentionally when Celeste was just out of elementary school. They really move in the digital era when they think no one is looking. The major breach happened on September 17, 2025, when the robbery-homicide branch of the Los Angeles Police Department entered the Hollywood Hills property with a search warrant. This was no typical house quest. The full crew, which included around 20 police officers and forensic specialists, was summoned, and they spent 6 to 8 hours thoroughly renovating the site as though they were looking for Jimmy Hoffa.
Told that the detectives went through the house. There was with luminol, thinking that if whatever happened to Celeste, if she met her demise in the house, they wanted to see if there was any evidence of blood anywhere in the home. So they were using luminol around the house. They were checking drains to see if there's any blood evidence or, blood or tissue that was in the drains there.
The warrant covered a wide range of items, including digital devices and biological evidence. Investigators seized a wide range of gadgets, including computers, laptops, phones, hard drives, and even David's PlayStation 5, which he allegedly used for his Twitch feeds. Along with checking drains and looking for blood evidence that would point to the crime scene, they also conducted luminol tests throughout the crib.
Manager's in on it. Would not be surprised if the manager was in charge of getting rid of the evidence, or he did it himself for David. Either way, he probably had some involved because the car was moved while he was on tour.
The digital data they discovered was extremely harmful. Screenshots purportedly showed David talking to Celeste in 2022 when she was just 12 and he was 17. This meeting was no accident. This was the beginning of a continuous grooming regimen modeled after the classic Predator playbook. It was structured like a textbook. A young girl receives direct messages from an older, somewhat influential man who makes her feel special and mature, before progressively increasing the level of interaction and severing her from her support system. Celeste thought she was part of something exclusive, but David was really only luring her in with his musical prowess and burgeoning stardom.
I think it's her, because she has a hoodie on and glasses almost to kind of hide her identity a little bit. That's what that looks like in my opinion. But it's just a clip of the stream and they talk about, at some point, Jeffrey Epstein gets brought up, bro, and she says something about what's controversial about R-wording kid.
One of the most damaging pieces of evidence was the leaked music from Celeste demo Unfin, which has been going around since December 2023. The song also contained
In one of his leaked songs, David sings about professing his love to someone named Celeste. The verses include, "Oh Celeste, the girl with my name tattooed on her chest. Smell her on my clothes like cigarettes. I hear her voice each time I take a breath. I'm obsessed."
The timing of this track was questionable. He recorded this when Celeste was 13, thereby utilizing his music as a vehicle to document his obsession with a child. The lyrics talked about possession and physical contact in ways that would be illegal if they were about a minor, which they clearly were. But what was most terrifying was how sophisticated the cover-up effort was. TMZ claims that Celeste had multiple fake identification documents that forced her to appear as a 19-year-old college student, allowing her to accompany David on trips and enter establishments with age restrictions without drawing attention to herself. This was more than just a teenage girl getting a fake ID for a party. This intentional dishonesty was intended to legitimize an illegal relationship. It was an advanced method of fake identification. She had driver's licenses and student IDs on hand. As a result, she was able to function in adult settings without anyone questioning why she was with a grown man, someone who seemed so young. David's crew honestly thought she was in the law because the documentation backed up her story. There was far more evidence that David was paying others to keep quiet about the real situation. Pictures of him donating cash to local kids near Celeste's house in Lake Elsinore went viral. It is clear from the time and location that he was buying silence about Celeste's true age and whereabouts, even though we are unable to verify the exact reason for those payments.
This is another picture that's been going around for days. They're saying this is him paying off people to keep quiet about the situation. There's no solid evidence or confirmation that that's true. This could just be him meeting a fan.
To show how this relationship grew more intense over time, investigators developed a chronology. It started with David building his online following on the Twitch and Discord platforms in early 2022, when Celeste was 11 and 12, and David was 16 and 17. By 2023, he was incessantly penning songs about her. By September 2024, they will also have matching tattoos.
Which is very interesting, something we found out, but she had a tattoo on her right index finger that said the letters SHHH ... And that was on her right index finger. Yes, he had the same one at least as of last September.
Those identical SH tattoos were particularly significant because Celeste got them when she was 14 years old. According to California law, a child cannot acquire a tattoo without their parents' consent. How did she get a tattoo without her family understanding that it represented a level of commitment and a shared identity that predators use to make their victims feel special and connected? It was discovered by the study that Celeste's tendency to flee was not random. Her connection with David was a contributing factor. When Sarah originally disappeared in February 2024, police were able to find the Hollywood Hills home where David was residing. Authorities simply brought her home and dismissed this as another instance of runaway behavior rather than interpreting it as a warning sign for grooming. Neighbors from the Hollywood Hills area supplied crucial testimony about what they witnessed. Several reports state that Celeste and David were often seen together, behaving like a couple, and that people believed she was between the ages of 18 and 19 because of the way she behaved. They saw them going about their daily business, holding hands, packing groceries, carrying a couple of things, and seeming comfortable with each other. The fact that it seemed normal to them proved how successful the trick was. A February 2024 Twitch stream that people saved but swiftly deleted was among the more disturbing pieces of evidence. Investigators believe the clip's female voice is Celeste, and it includes some concerning comments about inappropriate topics.
We were saying that's him covering his tracks because he has a girl with him that is underage next to him. But there's more context to the clip. Here's more context to that clip.
Media trained you.
Media trained you is what he just said, because she just said something about Jeffrey Epstein.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of kids.
They mute the mic.
Really good.
Okay,
It's been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh my. Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes.
The inventiveness of this plan proved that David was no ordinary predator. He had a carefully considered strategy for exploiting his sad boy persona to reach vulnerable youth. His music and online image were designed to appeal to lonely and misunderstood kids, giving him access to a potential victim base seeking connection and approval. The world-shattering revelation, what started on September 8, 2025, as a normal Monday morning at a Hollywood tow yard, turned into one of the most shocking revelations that would stun the music industry and the streets for months. They were just going about their everyday lives, when the staff of Hollywood Tow stumbled upon something that would expose a tragedy that had been smoldering for almost a year, involving a little girl whose murder had been covered up in the most twisted and horrible way possible. The Tesla in question, a black 2023 Model X with Texas license plates, was registered to R&B artist David Anthony Burke, whose name is David. This 20-year-old got famous on TikTok after his song Romantic Homicide had over 1 billion Spotify streams. The man began making beats in his bedroom in Houston and then sold out venues across the country. But inside the front trunk of where the engine would normally be in a normal car, workers found the mangled and terribly decomposed remains of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez in his Tesla. According to reports, the girl's body was wrapped in plastic and her remains were not whole. In a clear attempt to hide the evidence, authorities said someone had cut her apart.
He took a very big interest in sniffing all of it. I'm just remembering something, this is gonna sound horrible. So we would walk by the hedges and I'm like, the hedges always smell like something decomposing. And there's a lot of rats around in here, but there was always a smell.
It was a cold moment when this realization occurred. Celeste had just celebrated her 15th birthday on September 7th, 2025. Her body wasn't found until a day later. She had been dead for much longer, according to the forensics. But some started to wonder if that timing was significant. Most likely during the sweltering California summer, the heat inside that sealed Tesla would have expedited things. During the identification procedure, investigators were able to make all the connections. Identification was provided by dental records and a tattoo of the letter Esh on Celeste's right index finger. The black-inked finger David had on his own was exactly like this red-inked one. The matching body art was one of the primary elements that linked the victim to the vehicle owner. When the news broke, the sharp contrast between David's public image and this awful reality left people's heads spinning. When the discovery was made, this cat was in Minneapolis on tour. He was famous for penning heartbreaking, melancholy songs about heartache and sorrow. Despite his team's assertion that he was fully cooperating with the authorities, David stayed completely silent. Nothing. No statements, no explanations. Celeste's past showed how the system immediately failed this young girl. She was reported missing 3 times in 2024, but each time the Riverside County Sheriff's Office simply called her a runaway. As a result of that designation, her disappearances were simply seen as commonplace events rather than potential signs of exploitation, and there were fewer resources and less urgency. Her first disappearance happened on February 14, 2024, Valentine's Day. Day, 13 years old. Police found her a few days later in the Hollywood Hills, the same neighborhood David was staying in. Instead of seeing this as a grooming caution, they just brought her home and called it quits on the case. That missed opportunity could have saved her life. The recurring trend persisted. She vanished again in March of 2024, then, for the final time, on April 5th, 2024. When was the last time she told her family she was taking them to the movies? Brother, but she vanished instead. That marked the start of a more than 1 year formal absence from the entertainment world in Los Angeles. The pain her family was going through was real. "We lost our girl," Celeste's brother Matthew wrote in their social media posts. She trusted someone who didn't protect her. The words take on a new meaning when you consider how many people in the system failed this youngster.
Found her in the trunk of his car that was registered to David, and then she had a matching tattoo on her finger. They both had the same finger tattoo.
26. The connections between Celeste and David became apparent as soon as the discovery was made. Despite the fact that Celeste had never met David, her mother told TMZ that her daughter had proposed to him. David's own music, which had been documenting their relationship for months, was the most damaging evidence. Another important similarity was the same tattoos. The December 2023 leak of Celeste Demo and Finn contained songs that are obsessive and personal about a person named Celeste. It was not a good time. If this was a reference to Celeste Rivas, then at the age of 13, David was writing sexual, possessive songs about her. The industry's response was swift but calculated. Interscope Records immediately stopped promoting David's record and launching any marketing campaigns. Well-known businesses like Crocs and Hollister broke off their relationships and themselves from the scandal, but the speed at which these steps were implemented suggested that industry insiders might have known about an issue before the public did. Even Tesla has a story about trying to conceal something. The car had a big dent in the back, was badly damaged, and the spoiler looked like it was taped together. The car was moving from place to place as if someone was trying to avoid detection or delay discovering it. And neighbors in the Hollywood Hills had been...
The only thing out was out of a state license plate, and it was banged up and kept moving from one place to other place within a couple of blocks from here.
The car, which has Texas plates, is registered to the singer David, who is from Texas.
1949. The location of the Tesla's abandonment was also strange. Josh Marshall, David's manager at Interscope Records, had hired the car in the Hollywood Hills, and it was found only 1.5 blocks away. Soon, the investigation would center on the $20,000 per month luxury crib as investigators tried to pinpoint the actual site of the murder. Forensic analysis was extremely difficult due to Celeste's remains condition. Investigators to determine the exact time and manner of her death. The cause and manner of death had to be delayed by the LA County Medical Examiner's Office in order to await toxicology results and additional investigation. This legal barrier explained why no arrest was immediately made in spite of the growing circumstantial evidence. Celeste's community in Lake Elsinore experienced both relief and agonizing pain as a result of the discovery. After months without knowing what had happened to her, her family finally had answers, but they were the worst answers conceivable. Family members launched a GoFundMe campaign to gather approximately $50,000 to cover burial costs, song lyrics, and public appearances, demonstrating the community's care and desire to assist them during their most difficult time. Their findings provided detectives with further clues, but they also sparked irrational speculation and often misguided ideas beyond the current facts. This discovery exposed significant issues with how our system handles fugitive teenagers, especially those from low-income families. Celeste's story brought to light the dangerous flaws in the way that law enforcement responds to missing children, with her multiple disappearances being written off as typical, rather than potential signs that she was being abused or trafficked. This case represents a paradigm shift in how we see celebrity accountability, internet safety, and protecting kids in the digital age. Even as the investigation and legal proceedings continue, this tragedy serves as a reminder that institutional adjustments are necessary to prevent other young people from suffering the same fate as Celeste Rivas Hernandez. The streets are calling for justice, and this case won't be forgotten until accountability is attained. Like this video, Dio.